Afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this week's Go Mode Mentor Tournament between Kaesden and Yardo, round 2. Both of these individuals are winners from last week, so it should be a pretty good matchup. My name is Grimlegend, and I'll be here with...
I'm vortexofdoom, or Vortex. And this should be a pretty good race. Both runners are warmed up, and I believe pretty soon they'll...
So again, this week's going to be Ambrosia. And what Ambrosia is, it's sword guaranteed with a hint on Uncle, who's going to tell us where boots are, or at least a general location. And followed by every boss is going to have a non-dungeon item.
Yeah, it's a mode that can lead to a lot of interesting routing decisions. Can really cause you to prioritize finding what you need to full clear a dungeon, just since you know the boss is going to have something. So you'll see a lot less dips, and yeah.
Kaesden's started.
So we've got our boots in Dark Palace today. And as the is a standard start, we'll see that both runners go through the whole escape sequence to start the game before things open up.
That first chest is a big arrow pack of 10.
Not as nice as a pack of 10 bombs would be. That's one thing that both runners will be looking out for, is bombs in any of the checks they see or in the prize packs of the enemies.
It's going to be 20 rupees inside of Uncle, being very generous. Ooh, we've got a bomb pack on the guards. So you'll see a lot of, it'll be 111 for bombs, and then the fourth one will be a pack of 4. That's a really nice prize pack to get.
Yeah, after killing 1 or 2 enemies, the runners should be set for the early game all the way through South Shore and Sahasrarla's hut, if it comes to that, without having to pick anything else up.
So one of the things you want to do on a nice run is you're looking to break out of escape at about 6:30 or below. If you can really get on the hoof, it's going to look more around 6 minutes flat.
Yardo pulling out some NMG strats. Kaesden as well. I know Kaesden does have some experience running the vanilla games, no major glitches category. It's a really popular thing to do for runners who like Ambrosia and Standard Start, because you get a lot of practice doing that escape with this equipment.
Another really good thing to do in these kind of situations is when they're going out of stairs that are coming down or up, is to hit left or right so you don't get that bit of stair lag when you're coming out of doors or stair doors. Very nice job by Yardo to get in under the chain ball guards. Bombs it is. So far, we're making excellent timing coming out of the back of escape, or into the back of escape, I should say.
Yeah,
Very good.
heading into the throne room by 4:30 or earlier is a good mark to hit for that 6 to 6.5 minutes. Both runners look like they'll manage that just fine.
Nice dodging of the guards there. So another interesting part of this is when they go into the back of escape, there's going to be snakes. The snakes and the green guards are all on the same prize pack. So they're also going to drop bombs today as well. So that may be something you might want to try and pick up if you're starting to run low. Because you also got to think about going into Kakariko as well.
Yeah, if I were I would be expecting to see at least one of the runners kill one or two of those snakes on the way, just to shore up their bomb count, just to be safe. But if they want the time save, 4 is enough to do all.
Those snakes are being a little bit greedy, not dropping their stuff. Very nice. Now to kill that rat with the key. Not exactly sure where he got the key, but
What does back of escape have for us?
bombs, a map, oh, and a bow. Very nice. Now that could put some routing changes into things. Do you decide to go into Eastern? Do you decide to hold off? I know a lot of people like to do Eastern Palace along with Pod, but with a bow early, you may decide, hey, you know what? I'm going to take a dip.
Kaesden making the nice choice since the seed has been so generous with bombs so
Very
far.
nice.
Bomb that top
605 for both.
saves you a little time.
Now, do they
Since
check? Do they check lumberjack tree, or do we just go straight into the woods?
So
Oh, we got our first divergence. Kaesden going to check lumberjack tree with Yardo going straight to the woods.
yeah, I understand this from Kaesden. I think the choice that a lot of runners have to make in checking lumberjack is, in Ambrosia, how early are those boots going to be? If you see boots in Turtle Rock, it's fairly likely that with all the requirements to get into Turtle Rock, there are not going to be anything important on lumberjack ledge. But Pod is something that most of those checks are open much earlier, and in fact are open. Everything except Helmasaur is open as soon as they have Dark World access, since they have the bow. So just covering his tracks to make sure it's not something he's going to need makes a lot of sense. On the other hand, I understand Yardo's routing too. 6 minutes for escape is that's a lot of time to sink in, and you don't want to sink in any time that you don't have to, when you know you're not going to have those boots for a little bit at least.
So just some bombs and a heart piece inside of the woods, but it's all right. We got a heart. Oh, silver's early. 20 rupees. That's some big silvers. That puts some of them bosses easily into reach now.
And with both bows so early in logic, I think, provided that Eastern is a crystal, I think it heavily incentivizes going to check that out, because one of those items is bow locked, and if the game's giving you 2 bows that early, it's very likely that they're necessary.
Into the back of Cackwell. We'll also be able to check Sick Kit as they had blue goo and a hammer. Lamp. Seeds being very generous today.
So I'd be considering, after finishing Kakariko and doing the first save and quit, I would, provided it's a crystal, I would head straight to Eastern with that lamp and those arrows. Unless they find a glove and moon pearl too, in which case maybe just head straight to the pod with that mirror.
You're kind of hoping you don't find the cape. At least not early anyway. Sick Kid. Just the heart piece. He's not going to give you all of his heart, just a piece of it.
Did bring Yardo to one more though, so not good.
Not much inside the tavern.
Unfortunately for us, Eastern is a pendant today. Interesting. It'll be interesting to see if they still choose to dip it. If we do see that cape or another sword, and nothing else, and this is an Naga seed, I expect we will.
It's also not a green pendant either, so it even more devalues the Eastern play. But on that other hand, that Eastern play also would be really quick. Do you talk yourself into it? We'll see.
They could be holding out for possible Dark World access to go get those boots and check it with Pod if it comes to check. The dam, we have piece of heart. Kaesden also choosing to make that south shore.
Just another piece of heart inside the pond.
Yardo looks like he's heading to Agina.
It's an interesting
Agina is
choice.
Yeah, very common skip, because it makes it just a little longer till you get to Mini Moldorm, which 5 checks right there, and they can't enter desert.
300 rupees on the ledge. See if the Agina play pays off. Kaesden with some nice bomb strats on those mini Moldorms.
And a book at Agina.
Oh, that's interesting, because with those silvers, that's like you can quick kill land moles.
Unfortunately,
But no mitt.
he has no glove. And left one in Mini Moldorm Cave that we just saw on Kaesden's side. Rather unfortunate, but not something that I think Yardo will be too busted up about in the end. Because we'll get the information of whether it's boots locked and hopefully find an item if it's not right away, and then it'll be a pretty quick clear later.
Yeah, it's always nice to see either a compass or a map sitting on the lamp, and then get your big key, and then big key into an item.
Shield in Ice Rod Cave.
It is boots lock. Well, not yet. If this is big key, and then big key chest has an item, then he can clear out, but not gonna happen. Compass on in the chest.
I'm not sure what that chest is in vanilla. Maybe the map? Probably the map.
I don't remember if that's compass or not. It's been a while. And we have a way up the mountain.
Yeah, this makes a lot of sense with Mirror and Hammer. You can check all of Eastern Death Mountain, and with the fire source, you're guaranteed to be able to clear Tower of Hera, even though you don't have a hook shot for Herapod. And it is in logic with the lamp, so this makes an awful lot of sense to me.
Yeah, and if you stumble across Titan's Myths, now you can full clear, obviously, and you're going to need the Moon Pearl as well, but...
Yeah, with all the checks up here, there's a good chance you'll find it.
Red Laoria. That makes Icebreaker and Diver Down a whole lot easier to do. And getting that early. Okay, so that center chest is a map chest, with compass being on right side.
Yardo looked like they were deliberating a little bit as to whether to continue on to Ice Rod Cave, but maybe thinking about that oft-orphaned Agina check, giving them a book, maybe decide to play it safe. We know there'll only...
Is it inside Tower of Hera? Big key. Nobody with hook shots, so we will not be seeing Herapod today.
We'll be checking this first floor chest first. Makes a lot of sense. The map.
So what Kaesden is really hoping for is an item to be in the next two chests, and that he doesn't actually have to go back into basement and go through that tile room.
Yeah, this looking for one item to get Dark World access. I don't know if you can make the call to skip that item if it is there. It's always a hard choice because it takes so long, and most items, statistically speaking, are nothing.
Yeah.
But if it is there and you have to come back,
Kaesden with the bomb jump over to the other side. Nothing.
Unfortunately, that means we do have an item in the basement. Fortunately, we do have a fire source to get it. Meanwhile, Yardo is making their trip up the mountain, gets the red cane for their trouble. I assume we'll be seeing similar plays.
Let's see if Trolldorm doesn't decide to knock everybody off the ledge more than a few times. One more hit and Trolldorm will go down. Well done by Kaesden.
Some close calls there, but kept his cool.
Bombs is the reward.
Yardo has that book, so we will be seeing what is on Ether Tablet. Can't get it yet because we don't have a Master Sword, and just a little. Probably not coming back for that.
No, it'd be really hard to justify why you went back to get a piece of heart.
Maybe you really. Yardo getting the good news that Big Key is in the basement. Yet to get the bad news that the other item is in the
Kaesden in the tile room, taunting the tiles. As Yardo yeets the enemy right on through the stairs, or through the hole. Was the fire play worth it? Just a little piece of heart.
a piece of heart and peace of mind, knowing that they didn't leave.
But one of the things that's going to be interesting is Yardo has the book. Kaesden does not, so he doesn't know that Ether Tablet has nothing but love on it. Yardo knows, and he's not going to bother coming back, so that could be a benefit to him later in the run.
Could even turn out that that book is completely optional, and Kaesden won't have to worry about it. If we get flute, yeah. If you ever get flute and mitts, that's another recipe for entrance.
And you also gotta think that at some point Kaesden's gonna check Agina. Normally when you go into that Misery Mire Desert Palace checks.
Yeah, if it'd be kind of ironic if went in there with the flute and mitts, and because Agina is usually the last check you do in that area, and then you take a save and quit or something, and last check you find being the book. Not going to be too relevant for a while because it is still boots locked.
Yardo also.
As Yardo gets.
Go ahead.
Yep, gets their first crystal.
Now, do they check the basement? They are. In this Paradox Cave. Oh, there's a moon pearl on the bottom. So we have Dark World access. Agina is no longer, or Aga is no longer required.
Yeah, and since our Dark World access is hammer and gloves, it won't be logically required for any reason. One of the more unfortunate propositions of the logic is that if you have mitts Dark World access, you still need flippers or hammer to get over to that Eastern Dark World, and that can still be locked by Aga logically. There are ways around it, but nice to know that that won't be required today either.
Kaesden check Spiral Cave?
Kaesden did check Spiral Cave. He looked like he was going to go into Paradox first, and then thought better of it and locked it down and went back up. I don't believe it was anything of note. 10 arrows. And of course, Pod is also a pendant. but at least we know where our boots are. It'll be interesting to see how much of it Kaesden chooses to clear. I assume that's why they took the portal, hoping for those prioritizing those early boots. They can full clear both pod and eastern, and there will be no better time than now.
Flippers in Hype Cave. And blue potion. Not the greatest.
I didn't catch the third pendant. Our tracker seems to have, though.
It's in Thieves'
It
Crown.
is.
It looks like we're going to blind pull island. 20 rupee.
Well, it's a drag to get back to if you do want it and you didn't set up for it, so might as well. Gonna do hobo as
Now, do they dip pod and eastern thinking about that bow? That's going to be an interesting thing. Or do they go up pyramid to catfish?
well. I would assume they would head to pod because they want those boots, and Yardo especially knows they are required to beat the seed. So, what would be interesting to find out is how far they go after they get the boots in pod, and whether they dip eastern at all. I'm inclined to think they take a look at Sahasrara maybe on the way to pod, but yeah, we'll have to see.
So seeing the 5-6 crystals are Misery Mire and Turtle Rock.
Very likely means Pyramid Fairy is dead. I suppose Hookshot could still be there, but they require so many things that it's hard to imagine that any of the rest of them, and we have most of them already.
That would be super mean if they were inside of Pyramid for Hookshot.
Yardo making up a little time skipping those flipper checks, missing out on half magic for the moment.
Kaesden heading into shooter room.
Find out if we have a bow locked pod today. Not that we'll care with our 2 bows.
And there's the key. Kaesden taking the streamlined routing and pod.
Yeah, if you find 2 keys to begin there, you can route all this in and never have to backtrack for anything else. However, often you find out, as now, that you didn't need to bother and could have skipped that one. saved yourself a little time. But ooh, we find the flute as well. So unless something necessary is on the Bombos tablet or Mitts are in desert, that book is not technically a little early to talk about that. Interesting. It'll be interesting to see if that early play to Agina and the information gained will. Pod's still holding out on the goods, though, with those boots ever. Kaesden getting a little bullied. And the bumper. Gonna have to take a do-over on this.
Vito's being vicious, deciding, you know what? You're out of here. Bad timing for sure.
Yardo evidently skipped this before heading to the Bowlock side. Gonna get his replacement key in a minute.
Well, looks like Kaesden's gonna go for the bomb jump. Hammer jump.
Yeah, having the big key and small key to get out, it makes the routing a lot simpler, though you know it's arguable if it's worth it if you have the mirror. And Kaesden does not have too much health to do a death warp easily, so but yeah, it is a time save and it is kind of fun.
This is away. We're looking at the 20 rupees.
And it does make some sense from a check density perspective as well, because you know the Dark Maze is never going to have any key. But we found the boots, and I would be surprised at this point if Kaesden doesn't clean up the rest of the dungeon.
Yeah, you really don't want to have to come back to Pod because you decided that Helmasaur wasn't worth the time to look when you're already right there.
Kaesden, knowing, I think, that was a small key, decides to go through anyway, just to make the trip a little quicker.
Hearts. Some of the benefit of King Smarty right here. You don't have to push that block over like you normally would.
And at this point, we were wondering if they'd make a mirror play to possibly check out Eastern after this. I think having found the flute in here will make that a lot less attractive of an option, since you can flute to 5 at any time. You only lose a little bit of time versus mirroring, and it is a pendant, and you have a lot of Dark World open to you when you want to start clearing it. So
yeah, I mean, you can come back to Eastern pretty easily for sure. Making short work of those turtles. So what would you do? Do you decide to come back to Eastern, or you just knock it out right now?
I leave it. I go activate my flute and head to the village of outcasts. Start looking at the dark world and all the progression we've gotten.
Gotta think I'd do the exact same thing. If you need to come back later, too easy to flute over. You already got everything you need. And down goes Helmasaur. Let's see what he gives us. Was he required?
I would say that the Master Sword is worth the trouble.
For sure.
Not going to be too sorry, even if you find the other two pretty.
Yeah, because Butter, while it doesn't do much for damage on a Silverless Ganon, but it makes going through phase 2 so much easier.
Looks like he's gonna be heading up and checking Pyramid and maybe Catfish. Isn't quite equipped to hook straight across to the village of outcasts yet, but you never know. Hookshot might be here.
You also got the benefit of going to Catfish from here as well is you're gonna have the waterfall fairy and Ledge and Zora. So
it's very true.
Be good.
Neither runner opted for early fake flipper checks, given that they didn't have the Moon Pearl to be able to get back in to do the waterfall fairy. So now is as good a time as any to do that. Yardo is opting to go back to go into Eastern. While we both said that it's not the play that we do, it's certainly one that it's certainly an interesting play and one that it's hard to criticize with these bows and the pendant dungeons being relatively easy or relatively low requirements to clear. You know, you wonder if there's going to be anything enough.
You never know. May not be the play we want, but it may be the play we need.
Catfish just giving us $50 to scram. And if we didn't have Zora money before, we would after the waterfall fairy.
Piece of heart on the ledge. Zora giving us his whole heart, showing us love.
It'll be interesting to see if Yardo takes the opportunity to, makes the gamble of Eastern instead of Catfish and Zora area. So far, they haven't taken very many gambles in that way. They've been thorough and checked everything in their path. But at some point, you can't check everything for the whole seed, or you're gonna fall behind. So it'll be interesting to see when they choose to start skipping things.
Bonk Rock's having nothing but 20 rupees. And Big Key Chest is 20 rupees.
It's an unfortunate layout for Eastern when you do have to go to the vanilla Big Key Chest.
So a cool little trick if you're trying to flute out really, really quick, like that was your Gomo item or one of them deals, is if you hold your sword out when you go into that little square area and call the duck, as soon as it ends and the animation finishes, he'll do his sword spin, and then you can immediately call the duck. Where before, if you didn't do that, you would have to leave the square area before you could.
I never.
About a 5-second save, but still a
5 seconds.
You're not wrong.
Getting our first look at the Village of Outcasts area now. It'll be with boots. The Kaesden is opting to check out the front of Skull Woods area. Might be making a play towards Bumper Ledge and Graveyard Ledge after with King's Tomb.
Yardo and heads into Harmos Knights. He's very difficult with silvers. Hopefully he makes it through. Tempered
and
sword.
Another sword. Well, unless... yeah.
Because now you're looking at, if he doesn't find a sword up in GT, if he doesn't come back to Eastern, he's doing Ganon with a Master Sword.
They're really interesting locations for swords, and that would mean that if the last sword is in GT, or that most people would probably end up completing at least one pendant dungeon just to be.
Bombos is the one
That's
item.
one of the items.
That'll make
the Ice Palace.
Yep.
Possible if they find mitts.
Yardo gonna find out Bonk Box was nothing.
And yes, Kaesden is checking North Shore to avoid orphaning anything.
Whole lot of nothing. We're gonna get our Graveyard and King's Tomb checks.
Kind of interesting that Yardo chose to check Lumberjacks before heading to the Dark World, and instead of grouping it in with North Dark World loop. Kaesden, of course, checked it earlier, so didn't need to mirror, but that was the one check skip that Yardo had made to this point, and he lost all that time again. Though he did it with boots, so it was a little faster. Just to be in King's Tomb. So North Dark World, not really giving us the good.
Looks like we're gonna finish off Desert Palace. And Kaesden making the same play, but we'll find nothing but a book in Agena. So,
though crucially, that does mean that Kaesden will be single dipping desert, and a little bit of that time save will be evident. Although Yardo does know straight off that to head to that small key and head straight to... It'll be interesting to see, provided we don't find another sword on the way, how that difference in tempered versus master stacks up over the course of the run. You know, we know that both of those dungeons, or both of the checks they did with that time were nothing. Kaesden did Zora Catfish and North Shore, and Yardo did Eastern. Kaesden did more checks, but got just as much out of them overall, which is nothing. But now Yardo has that sword, and the difference between tempered and master is a pretty big one. And the longer that difference is there, we'll definitely see some things take less time. And that is our third medallion, so we really don't care about medallion requirements at this point.
That is true. Don't have to check that at all.
Each runner individually might care until they find the other. Kaesden is going to find his third shortly. But, might be a little bit before Yardo gets back.
And Yardo is now heading into the land moles, setting up for one cycle with the silvers.
Now in this lull, it's
Nice job on
to remind you to follow our run. Chat's not working for me right now.
Always good to get a nice follow in. Makes you feel good, for sure. Speaking of which, I do appreciate everybody coming out to support these runners in this tournament. It really makes people feel good to be able to run in front of 30, 40 people and really feel good about themselves.
Yeah, and both runners putting on a great show
Nice
so
job,
far.
Kaesden, on that fast kill.
Yardo cleaning up the flipper checks.
It's his
Would have been nice to route it in a little more optimally, but we'll be getting half magic.
Now the question is, does Kaesden do Thieves' Tower and completely clear that?
Oh, it's a hard choice, because obviously clearing it from the start is the easiest if you're going to do it. It's not that painful a double dip though. I think if you can get if all of the items are in the back, or like 3 of the items are in the back, and you know it's also the green pendant. I think you give strong consideration to clearing it here, because you know you're not going to leave anything behind. That said, you know Pod was a pretty lengthy excursion, and they do want to be clearing Crystal Dungeons, so I wouldn't be surprised either to see them just look at those front 4 and continue south, and maybe save it for later. With the flute, it's not too bad to get back to the village.
Another thing to consider: all these pendant dungeons are early and easily able to be gotten. Could that allude to a ped?
Yeah, it very well could. Kaesden did not have the book yet, and probably would not have made a ped check without being able to open up Skull Woods at the same time. Right. But I definitely expect that we will see a ped check with 2 pendant dungeons cleared on Yardo's side, so at some point we will be seeing it probably with Skull Woods, unless we're in Go.
Now, it'd be interesting to see if he just goes back and checks to see if he even needed to do it.
Yeah, it would be fairly quick from here, and certainly a lot less cumbersome than going through Skull Woods to get there in Mirror, especially when you can't clear it. So. But for now, it seems as though they're just...
I gotta agree with Chad on this one. I think I might have checked it too, because you already got 2, right? There's no reason not to go take the quick, what would it be, a 20-second time sync maybe? And if it's, oh, hey, you need to do this, now you can quick...
Thieves Town is right.
Tag it, go back up, get what you need. If it's fire rod, ice rod, something like that. Not that that's ever happened before.
We have mitts in the front. I only saw mitts in Thieves Town. I wasn't counting the other. We'll get a second look as Yardo checks it out, presumably. Those front 4 are pretty hard to resist.
Kaesden heading into Ice Palace. Fire rodless, hoping he finds it somewhere in there, but...
It's a good play, especially where they got that Bombos tablet, the Bombos medallion, because many runners, and it looks like Yardo is one of them, will put off Skull Woods and clear it from the back to the front once they have that. Oh, the shovel in Thieves Town, that's another item. They'll wait until they have that fire rod to clear Skull Woods. And Kaesden made the much more... It's an unconventional play in Ambrosia to check the front, hoping that you can skip checking under the bridge and the vanilla big key chest. And got Bombos for it. So if fire rod is
in Ice Palace.
So Kaesden lucks out with that sword play. But yeah, so if Kaesden would find fire rod here, it might be a really long time before Yardo comes and finds that.
That makes Cold Stare much easier with Tempered and not that Master Sword.
Yeah,
making this
timing on that find could not have. Kaesden showing off a very nice ice break. Almost missed it. Getting our first look at the dig game and just some bombs. You know, I'll be honest, even though it's a time loss, I tend to pick them up if I can.
With all the items, just going straight to cold stare. And with cape, shouldn't be really much of an issue at all.
Cape, half magic. This is a pretty cushy.
And I believe he's still got a blue potion too, right? And we've got our Smith checks for Yardo. Brings them home. Don't get lost again, please. For $20. You know, your blacksmiths, you couldn't just upgrade the sword for me? Instead, $20 for all the trouble? Kaesden making short work of cold stare. It looks like he's going to check his miners.
Setting up for spooky action despite not having the fire rod is the kind I admire.
$300 and a full harp for Kaesden in the mire shed.
Thieves Town care package, making the front making that south loop of the Dark World a lot more attractive. The mitts and shovel to open up the smith chain for Yardo.
It's nice when you don't have to come back. So another interesting little thing you can do is leave the chest behind in the Dark World and then just go right to the guy and get your items even without the chest being with you.
They're looking like they were maybe having a little trouble deciding whether to use that or flute there, making the smart decision to run and mirror so that they can check Bombo's tablet.
Just with some bombs. And indeed is going to check Bombo's tablet.
While Kaesden about to make the first check in Mire, and we get to see not a God Mire, but well, could yet be.
Is it hard on Bombos? Nothing but keys. In this situation, you really want to have big key on bridge or item, or big key or item on spike chest. Because then you can just pick up the top key and go.
Yeah, but we're still looking for 3 items, and they can be pretty elusive. Both rods and hookshot, they don't unlock too many things. So find the big key. And Kaesden is making the decision to check everything except cutscene chest first.
Say that I blame. Down to 2 hearts.
Just
Finds the item. So he's
trying to set
setting
up.
up a oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, trying to set up to just dash through. It's a similar. It takes advantage of a similar state as the icebreaker. That doorway movement overrides everything else. Kaesden, forgetting that he has already found the item, muscle memories that chest, but catches himself and heads to the back.
It's just instinct to just grab any chest in any video game, whatever you do. Just like, you know what? Let me go ahead and grab that. Knowing you don't need it, but you do it anyway. It's the equivalent of hoarding for gamers.
Not that it matters at this point, since both our runners are in mire, but it, I believe, was Quake that was required.
Now, what really could trip you up is if he doesn't go into Skull Woods because he doesn't have Fire Rod or whatnot, decides to go looking for it in TR. If TR is Bombos, that could be...
Yeah, that is possible, though the number of places Fire Rod can be in Turtle Rock is pretty low and very dependent on the key layout, given that there are 2 chests before the first locked door that are blocked by the Fire Rod. It can happen, and it can be... I've heard tell of Fire Rod in Mimic Cave before, which is...
It'd be gross.
Unthinkable.
Good work by Kaesden on Biddy, warded with the Harpies. Oh,
Yardo,
good.
unfortunately, not going to make the same play. And Kaesden at this point is widening the crystal lead fairly dramatically. Yardo has a lot more overworld checked, which could work in their favor later if this continues to be the rod hunt that it has been so far. But
the bigger thing with him checking the cutscene chest is that he has a lamp but not a fire rod, so it's not quick. He's got to push all the blocks.
That's true. Though it does look like Kaesden is going to retread the ground that Yardo did and do the smith chain and shovel checks now.
It's really hard to get away from those checks in almost every seed. Finding nothing but bombs.
I do not believe Yardo still has the blue potion. They had to use it in a tense moment in Eastern, and they are still down at 5 hearts. So they're very low on hearts here, and no powder to make the going easier with the anti-fairies down here. Hopefully they can pull it out.
Well done, Samaria block right there. That is a nice strat for Darkroom, in case you guys are wondering. Nice thing is he does have silver, so going into the Vidi fight, it should be pretty clean. Gets tagged. Oh, he does have a blue potion and a green one. I don't know. I think I might have caped right there to kill that last guy and save that blue potion for later. If you have the safety, you might as well have used it right there. And also checking the dig spot for flute, and is going to finish up this smith chain. Looks like Yardo is headed back into the dark world. Now does he check Thieves Town?
I think we're gonna see that earlier North Dark World loop we saw from Kaesden.
That makes sense.
Sure. I was expecting, and what I would have done at that point is to head up the mountain. We haven't gotten any progression from those mitts yet, unless you count that tempered sword in ice, which, given that they both had master, I wouldn't. You gotta start looking for what those mitts open up, and right now it's looking just like Dark Death Mountain. Obviously Yardo doesn't know that this is all empty, but even so, in their position, it's very hard to it's tough, because you definitely do want to wait until you have at least one rod to go up the mountain, or a hook shot to do hook shot cave. But with what we know, it's pretty likely that it is here, or it is there. Kaesden, on the other hand, looks like he is going to be making a Swamp Palace play.
Taking a bit of a gamble, but it's six items in there, so the chances of it having something. Because if you go through and clear all of it except for the back, you can easily get back here and then just go straight back.
And, with what the runners know at this point, you're going to be double dipping someplace, most likely. There's a good chance you'll be double dipping Swamp Without the hook shot, or the going up to Dark Death Mountain without the rods to be able to kill Trinex. So it does make a lot of sense to stay down here, and you're only a few crystals away. If you find Fire Rod down here, or hook shot in here, you can save yourself a whole trip up the mountain.
Yeah, I gotta agree. If you find hook shot, that's a big find. And we know that fire rod, hookshot aren't in EP. So the checks that are available are starting to dwindle on where it could be. So it's looking like Dark Death Mountain is more than likely going to be the place if it's not here.
Yeah, I think what Kaesden would really like to find is the fire rod, because I think you're more than happy to try to make the gamble to, check all the way to Laser Bridge and get, because you can get so much more in Turtle Rock, or you're guaranteed to be able to get so much more if you have that fire rod and know you're not going to get locked out after one check. And especially not having the hook shot, where you can only get one check in Hookshot Cave unless you know how to hover. Just being sure that he's maximizing the number of checks he can do once he does go to the mountain. Also, we were only at 5 or 6 hearts and no cape or half magic when we were on Death Mountain last. So Spike Cave is another place that something could be. It'd be really unfortunate because Spike Cave is just frankly an unfortunate location, but yeah, it wasn't really in play when they were there before, but it certainly is now with their current setup.
It looks like Yardo is going to do Thieves Town. Making the place, maybe thinking pet?
Yeah, I kind of like this play, just because, you've done 2 already. You didn't get a ton for the second one, but you're not regretting it. And this is the only dungeon that you can full clear. Crystal or not, you can clear it. There are 2 items back here. I kind of like.
Yeah, and Kaesden only checked the first 4 chests, right?
Yep, Kaesden dipped out.
This could be really big. You get
mushroom on left.
You get a fire rod and let's say ice rod with hook shot on ped.
Yeah, I think ice rod would be the single biggest thing that Yardo could find here, especially if fire rod is not here, because Kaesden is running out of stuff to do fairly quickly. Ooh, Kaesden is setting up for fake powder, looks like. Taking out that cape to drain magic. But if Yardo finds Ice Rod here, and Fire Rod's not here, Fire Rod's somewhere else, it's going to be a long time before Kaesden is forced into Thieves Town. So making this Thieves Town play early is...
Yeah, because you're going to be more willing to go to EP knowing nothing, you didn't go there at all, as compared to wanting to go like, oh, okay, I'll double dip and see. $8.
And from Magic Bat. So fake powder, for those who don't know, is a trick that requires you drain your magic, and then you try to use the Cane of Samaria, and then you immediately menu and try to use the mushroom. And the game thinks you have powder, and it uses it. The trick actually also works with powder if you are out of magic to use powder. And I have used that one after a cold stare fight or the like. Yardo getting a little off script with the blind fight, but still looking pretty good.
Yeah.
As the cape will opt to use it.
Red mail,
wisely.
Pretty easy fight with Dex, with the amount of safety he's got. So what's he got? And it's a heart. But he's going to get a green pendant. Plus, so you got, what, 2 checks now?
Right, and that's another thing to talk about with the Thieves' Town play, being that it was the green pendant. You didn't have 2 items in... It was the green pendant and Yardo's third pendant. You didn't just have 2 items in the back. You had 4 items in the back. You opened up Ped and green pendant. So looks like Yardo is about to blind pull Ped, if I had to guess.
Yeah, I mean, you might as well look for that one item. If it's Fire Rod, great. If not, you know that it can't be in the back, so... And you, while you're here, you might as well go check the ped. What's the worst that happens? It gives you what you need or it doesn't. You're right here anyways.
Yardo, unfortunately not having the knowledge that Kaesden does, is going to check the vanilla big key chest. And Kaesden does get the little piece of love from
Deciding, do I go check now or do I see what the item is and then go check? I believe chat is demanding a ped check. Just do it. You're already there. Go big or go home. Let's do this.
Yeah, I do understand the play from Yardo, though. You're only looking for a few things, and you'd really, really hate to walk all the way to the back of Skull Woods only to find out that the fire rod, for instance, was in the front. Unfortunately, it's not, but now
we see what, let's see what the play is gonna be here.
I think if you're making the Skull Woods play, you still...
Here we go, folks. Get your guesses in the chat of what's on ped.
Kaesden has one more check before it's limited to Turtle Rock and Eastern. Okay. Income.
What do we think, folks? What's on ped? You got a blind pull it now. You can't
Blind
read it.
Pull. Blind pull height. A single.
No.
Though it still could be the case that the trip to Thieves' Town was not in vain. We still do have Sahasrara, but we will forever have to thank Yardo for giving us the...
Unlucky. That could have been super huge, though. He comes out of there with a fire rod or a hook shot. He could have such a huge advantage right there. It looks like Kaesden is in fact going into Turtle Rock.
Yeah, I like the call to go into Turtle Rock first. I was debating with myself whether I'd like to see the Spike Cave check first for Fire Rod, for instance. We're not locked out. But if it came to that and Turtle Rock was Fire Rod locked, you're going to find out pretty quickly. And it looks incredibly likely that either the hookshot or Fire Rod...
Thieves' Town was not worth finishing, as it was just a heart on Rachula. Our spicy green wise man.
This has to be either
Hook
progression and it is progression.
Now he goes back out.
So Yardo can make up significant time here. If they make the play to go to Dark Death Mountain before dipping Swamp, and that seems like a very reasonable play.
Agreed. I already checked this chest. Okay. Fire Rod in Hookshot Cave.
Okay, now, ooh,
Unlucky.
worst time to take a fall, but we'd all be lying if we said we. If this is not the Ice Rod, and Spike Cave is not the Ice Rod, well, if this is not, do you go the Turtle Rock? Now that you can get a little farther in it, Ice Rod could be.
Yeah, there's still a lot of checks in there. I mean, you're right here anyway, because if he's got a double dip to get back to Ice Rod, feels bad, you know?
Yeah, I think I agree with the play Kaesden has made. He's done all the slow checks in Swamp and Skull Woods. He's, he can finish him off, go back. If he doesn't find Ice Rod, he's pretty sure he knows where it is. We're pretty sure we know where it is if he doesn't find it there, because everything Kaesden hasn't done, has. But I think Kaesden is gonna probably clear the last two dungeons, hoping we find it. We'll see if he flutes here.
Yardo picking up his butter sword as expected and should make short work of Cold Stare. Yeah, I just don't see how you don't make that trip back there.
You do have to climb the mountain again anyway, and you did already make that first dip. It really doesn't make a whole lot of difference in the end if you double dip it now or later, if it turns out to be the answer. And since you got your last two crystals clearable in that Chain Chomp chest in Turtle Rock, I don't see how you don't.
See if we make the right decision as he goes back into Swamp Palace, followed by Skull Woods, and then back up to TR. Yardo setting up the bomb jump to go back over to check big chest.
Haven't we found both items already?
I thought we did.
Yeah, because Kaesden didn't even check the freezer.
No.
So I think Yardo just either had a muscle memory or forget it's ambrosia moment. Getting to see new checks for the first time in a little bit. I guess since Turtle Rock.
He's setting up for Diver Down. He's going to go with the bomb strat, it looks like. Jumps in and good. Nice down. And there's Ice Rod.
Which means that at 123.20, Kaesden is in. That was some heckin' logic, though. Having that hook shot in the front of Turtle Rock. Like I said, I would have really wanted to make the play up the mountain a lot sooner, because of how early that Cane of Samaria was. Ooh, Kaesden missed the key.
Getting a little excited knowing he is in go mode, saying, you know what, maybe I don't want that key. And then realizing I really do want that key. I'm sorry, come back. Now here's going to be the play. Now does Yardo get the hook shot and decide to go back as well? Or does he decide, you know what, I'm going to just go ahead and see if Ice Rod's in there?
Yeah, it's a hard choice. Unfortunately, we know the answer. I think it makes a lot of sense both ways. Especially Yardo not having done any of Swamp to Kaesden's all of Swamp prior to finding that Ice Rod. I think that that the calculus changes a little bit. Turtle Rock go mode versus not go mode is very different from Swamp go mode versus not go mode. So if you find the Ice Rod in Turtle Rock and can go mode Swamp, you have to climb the mountain. Either way, you might make that choice. It'll be interesting to see.
Looks like he is opening. But does he go in right away and then go do the other checks? I would assume he would go into Super Bunny Cave over to Hookshot, check that one.
I would think so. If, say, the Fire Rod is here, you can check a lot more checks with that Fire Rod. In Yardo's mind, you can check a lot. And if the Ice Rod is in here,
What might really save him is if he goes into TR and doesn't go left side, he'll gain some time back. Although I don't know at this point if it's enough to get him back into the game, but
no, I think this might be out of reach of even plain old GT routing. There's never say never in a race or in Rando, but it's looking a little grim. If Yardo does skip left side and doesn't go back into TR, skips Spike Cave, this is not out of reach by any means, but Yardo's got to start making some plays that we haven't seen them been very thorough and methodical so far. But when you've made a lot of big gambles that haven't really paid off with progression, that is the time that a lot of runners will switch from that into a much more risky mode. So
Kaesden takes down the Moth and will be headed up to Turtle Rock. Chomps eat with Samaria Block. Sees it. Or does he make the play to go back down after he checks Hookshot Cave? He doesn't check Hookshot Cave. Oh,
this is an
no.
astonishing choice. I think that one may have gotten checked off in the mental checklist. They checked that first chest and didn't go back in.
astonished right now. I cannot believe he.
And, you know,
That's
I'll be
unfortunate.
honest. I almost was late to calm this race because I forgot that you can jump straight down to Mimic Cave in inverted. You know, things happen. You forget that checks are open and you haven't done them.
Absolutely. You just hate
But
to
I
see
don't
it.
think there's any chance the Yardo skips left side swamp,
No,
missing
not
both rods.
anymore. No, I don't
The
think he
good
can.
news is Yardo's on a pretty good pace for full clearing a seed.
Yeah.
Either way,
Yeah.
it bears saying again, both runners have been putting on a heck of a run. Be sure to follow
For
them.
sure. It's still at great times too.
Yeah, no,
what
this
they've
is
done for sure.
a very fast seed for clearing multiple pendant dungeons and but yeah, throw our runners a follow. You can follow both Grimlegend and myself, and our Restreamer, Laoria of Light, and Adilor, our tracker. Both of them have done a great job to make our job easier and keep things moving.
I don't think there's any way they come back from this one.
No, I think that was the nail in the coffin, and it's hard to pin the race on that when you full cleared all the pendant dungeons and blindfold ped. But even if they hadn't done that and made the same mistake there, this would be a tough one because it's going to be a while. Even once they remember that there are those 3 checks, it's not going to be that long, given that I think after Swamp, those are the only 3 checks they have. But if they remember they've forgotten them, that's the next hurdle.
What is Kaesden looking for right here? Okay, we didn't know.
The big key. We weren't paying attention. Didn't have the big key yet, so it's guaranteed to be there. So. All things considered, though, double dipping Swamp isn't that much more painful, or double dipping the mountain isn't that much more painful than double dipping Swamp.
Yeah. Yeah.
Though it did turn the mountain into a triple dip.
Oh, he did skip left side, but he's not going to find the fire rods. He's going to have to come back and check that left side. So this is one of those little conundrums, right? You need items. You skip left side Swamp, but if you do it right away, you save way more time than if you have to come back and do it.
Right. I think there is the possibility that as soon as they did that save and quit, or sometime between when they saved and quit and when they decided to skip left side, that they remembered that Hookshot Cave did have 3 more items. Because going back for left side Swamp is, in my opinion, it's one of the worst plays you can make. It's obviously, if you're going to go back for it, it's best to do it immediately after the dungeon. But you lose all the value of skipping it and then some if you go back at all. So if they remembered that there are those checks, they could bet on those being it. You know, since they have the Ice Rod, they now know that if Fire Rod is there, they could beat Turtle Rock with it.
Gotta think that he thinks he did those checks
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we'll see, because once he finishes here, he knows there's nothing in Skull Woods.
Right.
He's gonna go back and go left side, find out it's not there, and then you're just gonna see that map check of shame when you're kind of looking around for what could I possibly have forgotten.
Going right back in. I'm gonna turn in that mushroom from left side. Putting off that map check for Kaesden, making quick work of the elemental heads of Trinex.
Gotta say, this is definitely one of the worst feelings you can have as a runner, is sitting there thinking to yourself, what did I forget? How did I miss something? What did I miss? It's just the worst. It's super unfortunate.
It's not to pile on, but it is right up there with blind ped for a single rupee. When it and making quick work of phase 2 is Kaesden as well. Now that brings him to 7 crystals, and it is time for our big key guessing game. There are 22 chests in Ganon's Tower where the big key can be. Put your guesses in chat, 1 through 22. That is about all the time we have, because as soon as he enters the tower, the game will end and guesses will be locked in.
Going with the 1. Does it pay off?
Nice. Heading to Hope Room first. It's a common choice. Next,
it is not
choice.
I fail.
Or 2. And with no keys, he's forced to go left. We could still see some route divergence. We could see some pink magician, as it's called. Do Hope Room first, then do the Stalfos Room, then mirror again and go to the right side to sort of try to beat the meta as far as picks are concerned.
Yardo,
but I have a feeling that
giving him just a little bit more hope.
Delaying the inevitable crushing sense of loss. And
a big key.
That would be chest number 6.
Yeah. I don't believe anybody had 6. We had 1. Kairadusi with 5 and Mongu with 7. Those were the 2 closest
Yardo
ones.
Also choosing to pick up the bug net. They seem a little lost.
It looks like they remembered, which is good. Very good. He's got to be feeling super behind at this point, though. Realizing once he picks up that fire rod, knowing that he's probably in some deep trouble.
Yeah, if they weren't behind, or if they weren't feeling behind before, they have. Oh, never mind. This is the way to get in. Yeah, they remember.
I can only imagine that conversation of, hey, did we check hookshot? Yeah, but only the one. They got it. Let's see if he finishes out this seed.
At least Kaesden not quite getting the 1 or the 2 cycle on the land mows, but cleans it up nicely. On to one of the most satisfying rooms in the game. Both of those rooms are so nice. So nice when you get it right. Kaesden getting trolled a little by the guards on that bridge, but moving through.
Lamp rooms. Yardo heading into the back to fight Moth.
And with 2 keys, Kaesden doesn't have to worry about opening any chests or killing the. It bears saying that it's easy for us to see the difference between the runners, but Kaesden could very well be feeling behind as well. Would have been very easy not to do all of Swamp without the hook shot. And definitely is probably feeling a little pressure right now, despite having very little to worry about. And yeah, I don't know about you, but for me, skipping validation chest is one of the surest signs that I feel behind. I usually open it for the memes, but walking right by it is a sign that
It's 2 on that, barely missing a 3. Yardo killing Moth, and will make his way up to TR. I believe that was 2, maybe 1, depending on how the game reacted. Looks like 2. Easy kill on Aga for Kaesden.
You know what? I don't know if it would have saved time, but what an interesting play might have been. You could, they could have. No, I don't think it'd be faster than fluting. You could have saved a portal on Laser Bridge, gone all the way through Turtle Rock, come back, and then you would have just had to climb the mountain and jump down. But it would have required dying in the overworld and then doing a save and continue. Which with red mail and 12 hearts, I don't think Yardo was going to do for any reason. Kaesden on the fight with Ganon, using the cape to get some easy double hits, making quick work of his second phase.
Yardo is making his way into TR. Second arrow in. Third arrow in. outside of him falling off the bridge. Kaesden looks like he's going to win this. And at 144, Kaesden has won the match. Some GG's in the chat for Kaesden. Point Yardo's now going to see that. I would like to see him finish up. Does look like Yardo is going to go on and finish, which is awesome. We are joined with Kaesden and Qirn. How'd you guys like that seed there?
That was a seed. I was starting to get real nervous towards the end until dipped into Turtle Rock.
Yeah, that was a little.
That was a scary play. I was kind of trusting Qirn's routing on that because I would have probably gone into Eastern, but not going in pit.
Yeah, it certainly did. One of the interesting choices we were discussing while you guys were in pod at the same time. I think you got there a little bit first, but was whether to check Eastern right then and there. We were sort of on the side of not doing it since you had found the flute and could get back to Eastern if it was ever necessary pretty quickly. But Yardo did make the other decision and found the tempered sword, their tempered sword, on the Armos Knights, which led to some interesting wondering whether you would ever find that sword or another one, period.
Yeah, I was at the point thinking it was either somewhere left behind or sitting in GT somewhere. I found the GT key pretty early, so I figured I would never find it.
Yeah, that was a big point of discussion for us. Like even before we went into pod, we were talking about, do we do pod on Eastern? Like well before. I think even before we got Darkwold access, we were talking about it.
Yeah,
And,
more for sure.
And we didn't have a straightforward answer, but I think that the thought was, because we knew Thieves Town was a green pendant, if we're going to end up going back to Eastern pendant anyway, we're going to do it after having full cleared and defeated blind, so we can turn in the green pendant with Sahasrahla too, which gave us like a little bit of consolation, I guess.
For sure. I mean, you had two bows super early, hammer super early. Just begging you to go hit both of those.
Yeah, I think the hammer kind of made me think pod was more likely, since Eastern being the pendant.
Both were pendants, but pod was certainly the easier choice because of boots. To find both another sword and flute there was a great gift.
Yeah, that medallion too.
Yeah, at the end there too, I was also kind of worried. It's like, great, this can be another ice rod hub, and then it just turned up along the way.
Yeah, there was definitely discussion on whether or not you were going to go back into TR from Fire Rod to see if, well, does it have the ice rod we need, or do we go do my other checks, or do the other two dungeons that we know we got to do and then come back if we need to? How did that decision kind of unfold for you?
Yeah, that was largely, it's like I had two full crystal dungeons I could clear, and if I climb back up the mountain wasn't going to be the end of the world. And if it's in TR, I don't think anyone's going to double dip TR unless they have to. So I was kind of...
Would it have changed anything? Would it have changed anything if you guys had not done that dip of swamp to left side, just to see. Like, I know you couldn't save your portal if it's ended up being in swamp, which it did, but was the fact that all you had was the back of swamp and the back of Skull Woods, and those checks are pretty easy. Did that play any role in that?
A little bit. Qirn was also telling me to go ahead and get swamp out of the way, because then if I did go into TR, I could save the portal, so that I wouldn't have to go through the whole thing again. So that kind of made a lot of sense. Just get swamp out of the way after doing it. But the first dip, it was just along the route, and it felt like the right time to take a look in there and see.
Dude, I'm sorry. Yardo just almost got a 0 cycle on that Trinex there. I'm sorry. I have to just say, that's crazy.
Yeah, Yardo's been putting up a heck of a run. If you look at the tracker, you see Yardo has done absolutely everything. They did clear Thieves Town. They blind pulled Ped, gave us a great show, and are still looking to put up possibly a sub 2. Probably not a sub 2, but very close.
They could probably do it just based off of that Trinex fight. I haven't seen the rest of their game, but just based off that Trinex fight, I would not be surprised if they can pull off a sub 2 with the Dark Magician big key.
Yeah, it just depends. It's going to probably depend on the GT route at this point. If they use a pretty standard route.
So, Qirn, how do you feel Kaesden did this week as compared to last week?
I actually didn't get to watch Kaesden's match last week, but I'm familiar with his game. I don't know. I've done a lot of VOD reviews of his, probably like 5 or 6 now. I don't know. What do you think, Kaesden?
I don't know if it's that many. I know you've done at least 3 or 4. But you've.
Yeah, but so yeah, and I don't know. It's definitely crazy to me. I was telling Kaesden throughout the run too. Like, his movement has gotten crazy good in like even just the last month. He's improved a lot. So when we started it, it was very different kind of mentee-mentor relationship, because first of all, I'm already very familiar with this game, but second, because I know that Kaesden doesn't need as much feedback from me. So it was mostly just like, where do you think about you're going next? Okay, well, here's another thing you might think about. But there was like never a moment where I felt like I prevented Kaesden from making a mistake, or anything like that. So yeah, I don't know. I thought he played exceptionally well this time.
So,
Certainly looked
Kaesden,
that way to us too.
Oh, go ahead.
I just said certainly looked that way to us too.
For sure. So, any takeaways from this seed? Something you can improve upon? Something that you can get better with? Something you did well?
I felt my boss fights went really well. I've been putting in a lot of time on practice hack, just grinding on them, trying to get like the 1 or 2 cycles down to the point that they're more just that's the usual versus the exception. And I could definitely tell that's been paying off.
Like, you had some really nice kills for sure on Land Mole, some of those guys too. It was really nice. Oh, I don't know how Yardo just stayed on platform right there.
Since this was week 2, we know that next week you guys won't we won't have a mentor during the race. Was there any preparation for like how to approach that? How to did you do any discussion of looking forward to next week?
Not so much in preparation for this match. We were more just kind of focused on one game at a time. That's definitely been in my mind. Is that next week I'm not going to have Qirn or Sherman or someone in my ear validating, correcting me on routing choices that I'm thinking about. So I'm going to have to do all that. So that's definitely on my mind. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a fun challenge.
just finished
Yardo
up
gets a
Rando.
pretty easy 2 cycle.
But yeah, again, great job on this run. Doing a great job. And it's nice to see runners getting better week to week for sure. And
Yeah, I've been
definitely
watching a lot
appreciate
of the runs, and I've noticed everybody's game seems to be stepping up. Everyone's getting really fast. I think there was a hour 28-minute runner here today, which is just insane.
That's crazy.
for sure. And I definitely appreciate the mentors and the people setting up everything. I mean, without Qirn and people, all the mentors helping out, we wouldn't be where we're at. So nice that they're giving us their knowledge when they could be like, you know what, I'm good, I'll save it. So
I'll hoard it.
this is my knowledge, you can't have it.
You know what's funny? Ringing in my ears are the words of Christos Owen, and not in my ears, but in my eyes, because he actually said it in IRC chat. One of the first, I think the first race I was ever in, is like 2.5, 3 years ago, or something like that. In IRC, there's a bunch of new people in one of the weeklies, and he said, "Look at all these new people here. Isn't this wonderful? Someday these people are going to be beating us." And it's like, this is exactly how I feel about this Mentor tournament, like watching Kaesden play it here, and here watching like Yardo finish this out with an almost 0 cycle Trinex. Like, yeah, no doubt, soon enough, these runners are going to be beating us.
Interesting to note that, well, not interesting, I forgot, we never found powder this run, but Yardo decided
Yes,
not to
100%.
try for a refill. So it must have been in GT or Mimic Cave, I suppose, because I think Yardo did finish off Laser Break after
Yeah,
finding.
I was going to ask if he went up there.
I don't believe he stepped in. He's got 2 hearts, so he's got to be careful here. Nice 3 cycle, or 3 hit on Aga. Sets up for another 3 cycle. Oh, unlucky. Got a blue ball for what would have been a perfect Aga. And finishes off Aga 2 and is headed to the pig. Yeah, I'm super impressed by Yardo finishing off. He could have just said, you know what, I still got all of TR and GT and I've already lost. I could just throw in my towel, and decided, nope, I'm gonna finish.
But it can't be understated how good, even if he doesn't quite get the sub 2, which he still certainly could.
He's on track, gold sword.
How good a sub 2 hour time for literally full clearing the game is for a runner in this tournament. Massive accomplishment and a great run.
He's into phase 2 now. Gets his slashes in. Use the iframes from the hook shot to get away from those bats. Tagged up a little bit, but nothing too big. In a good groove for phase 3. One more hit into phase 4. Oh no, silvers, it's my one true weakness. Misses the torch glitch. I don't know if he got 2 on there, definitely the 1. Oh no. Yardo
Takes
the ball.
Oh no, man, the sub 2 dream.
Yeah, he was there. He was there. Unlucky. heads back up the mount or up the pyramid to.
I'm sure the second fight will be as minus the fall.
He just wanted to smack Ganon around a little bit more. That's all it was. Very well done. Into phase 2. I believe he's in phase 3. He is into phase 3. First hit.
Yeah, they're taking no chances once that torch glitch is. Yep. And when you know you want a seed to just be done, there's.
It's super unfortunate. Although if he makes that ped play and it pulls out what he wanted, he's gets the torch glitch.
I mean, it seemed like a very reasonable play at the time. With what we knew, like looking for both rods and the hook shot, when your options were
Dwindling.
You know, it was Dark Death Mountain without the hook shot for Hookshot Cave, and TR without the fire rod to maybe get past the first door. That it's really hard to fault a runner for looking at Thieves Town, Green Pendant Thieves Town, when it's your last.
Well done. Let's get some GGs in the chat for Yardo for that. And again, let's give both these runners a big GGs. Give them a follow. They've done a hell of a job today. They really have. 2 minutes or 2 hours flat.
Oh, 2 hours flat?
Yeah, just about. I mean, 2 hours and some odd milliseconds. Pretty close. Give or take a couple seconds.
But yeah, I think what you're saying is totally true, Grim. Is that your point about, the choice of Thieves Town is totally legit choice. Like, there's nothing wrong with either choice. It makes total sense. It just happened.
If he pans out right there, he hits gold on Ped. Say Ped was Fire Rod and Green Pendant was Hook Shot. He's so far in the lead right there, it isn't funny. Plus having gold, knowing he's going to have gold sword, gets him through phase 2 much easier. It could have been a whole different seed. Just sometimes them's the breaks, you make the play, doesn't work out, unlucky.
Yeah, there was no good option there. They were all honestly, they were all bad choices. So
yeah, I mean, you have the choice of hitting both Eastern and Desert Palace, or not Desert Palace, I'm sorry, Palace of Darkness. So you're sitting here looking at a green pendant and you're like, you know what? It's a quick run. I could sit there if this pans out, that gamble is a run-winning gamble. But they both runners did a heck of a job. They really performed exceptionally well. All their execution was great. But
And I think they're not here yet, but I think Yardo did agree to an interview. Should be in here.
I have to jet y'all. Good game, Kaesden. Thank you guys for the restream.
Again, thanks for mentoring, Qirn. Great job again. GG's way to finish, Yardo. How'd you feel?
GG's. I think the mushroom trip was unfortunate, but I don't think it I don't think it mattered in the end, at least the mushroom part.
No, we saw that from both of you guys, and both of you did make the choice to pick up that bug net after all that work.
That's funny.
So, everybody in chat was cheering for you when you went to blind pull that ped. Unfortunately, it didn't work out, but could you run us through that routing decision right there?
That was definitely had all the pendants like right in our grasp, so might as well just go for it.
Yeah, because like I was saying to Yardo at the time, right? We could either go do Back of Thieves plus maybe one item in Skull and the 2 North Dark World items, which looked more appealing at the time than going up Death Mountain to get what could be, 4 or 5 items as well. So it was kind of a coin flip at that point. And unfortunately, the Death Mountain play to get the hookshot was the right play.
Yeah. Speaking of getting the hook shot, when did you realize that you may or may not have missed a certain cave?
Yeah. So the story behind that is there's a bad storm here in Toronto, and I actually lost internet, so I didn't see what was happening pretty much from Ice Palace until near the end of Swamp Palace. And I was like, "So did you go to Hookshot Cave?" And he said, "Yes." And obviously he did go to Hookshot Cave because he went in the beginning, but there's just a little bit of miscommunication there because I couldn't see what was going on. And then after he picked up the mushroom, I was like, "Oh no," because I thought he had gone to Hookshot Cave again. And then I was like, "Are you sure you went to Hookshot Cave?" And he was like, "Oh crap, I forgot to go back." And so that's kind of what happened there. So my internet's still not back. I'm on my phone right now still.
Yeah, definitely a feels bad moment that I think that everybody has done at one point or another. So
Yeah. Getting that hook shot definitely was I can do swamp moment.
yeah, we were hoping you were going to make that play and kind of get back into the race, because you have the choice whether I could sit here and I could go back into TR. I've got the fire rod. If I'm gambling that ice rod's in there because we know half the time it is.
Mm-hmm.
Or I could go get those 2 crystals. Kind of, where was the decision for that one?
Well, we got Ice Rod before Fire Rod.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean.
Oh, that's right, because you ran by it. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We did mention it a couple times on stream, but I think it bears mentioning with you on air here that this was a great run. I think, like, even with all the shenanigans that happened, having a just over 2-hour time while full clearing the entire game is nothing to sneeze at, and you did a really good job.
Yeah, Yardo, you played super well, man. I was really impressed. Because this is my first time being a mentor in this tournament, so I really did not know what to expect, and you were far, far better than my expectations.
Thanks.
So, what are some of the things that you could take away from this seed? Something that you've done that you did really well in this seed, and something that you could work on?
I messed up my pod routing a little bit, and so I definitely need to stay on the path that isn't locked, I guess. Or I guess when I know the back isn't bow locked, to just go back there. But and then Skullwoods, I kind of went the wrong direction because I should do the back first and just get the item, but wait, I don't have Fire Rod, I can't go back, and then I didn't know where to mirror to check the ped, and so that was a little messy too. And then, don't forget to go back to Hookshot Cave. That's a little one that probably take note on that one. But
Yeah, your execution was really, really good. I mean, pretty flawless on the execution. I didn't see anything there. But overall, your guys' race was really, really fun to watch and to commentate. And I appreciate you guys allowing us to restream for you guys and commentate for you. And a whole lot of fun for sure.
definitely.
Yeah, thanks a lot for the stream and the commentary.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. It was a great race to watch. Be sure, everyone in chat, to give both of our runners a follow. They definitely earned it with these runs. Give their tracker Adilor a follow and Restreamer Laoria of Light. I've been vortexofdoom. That's everything I have, I think.
Pretty much same thing. Again, GG's both runners. Excellent job. I couldn't have picked a better race to commentate. Thank you so much. And thanks everybody for watching.
Thank you.